往前。
There are few weightlifters who invoke such inspiration into the world of weightlifters as Kuo Hsing-chun. And there are a few weightlifters who make such an effort to perfect their craft as Kuo Hsing-chun. Purposeful, deliberate practice is, visually at least, the separator between her abilities and the rest. Whenever we've filmed Kuo Hsing-chun specifically, there is a proactive engagement that she shows with what she's doing. It's the opposite of what we see with other, often very successful countries such as Bulgaria or Iran, where they touch their toes one time, take huge jumps, miss a top set, and call it a day. Kuo focuses on every single repetition. She also writes in her journal after most sets, and it's not just a tick or a cross because, well, she makes everything, they're all ticks. So what is she writing? Well, it looks from where I'm always standing as though she writes down something like the goal, the intention of the session, the small 0.1% change that she'd like to see implemented into her movement. A focus on staying over the bar, in being snappier or finishing straighter. Because the more elite an athlete becomes, the harder it is for a coach to notice technical change. A beginner can move their center of mass 2 inches forwards between 2 reps of a double and feel no different, while the lifts look totally different to anybody else watching. An elite athlete, however, can feel a weight shift of a millimeter and feel like it was a mile, all the while being almost entirely imperceivable to anyone watching. And so writing down how a lift feels is a great way for a lifter to take more agency over their own training, to acknowledge, note, and track the changes they discern from slight alterations in technique. This training session started in the same way that most of her sessions do, with a more track and field style of outdoor warm-up. Leg swings, dynamic stretches, lunges, jumps, ladder footwork drills, even short sprints, maintaining her overall physical qualities of athleticism, her quickness, speed, agility that peripherally help contribute to central pillars of strength and power. From there, she writes, presumably the intention of the session, something that holds her accountable to her improvements, something that unites every set in a particular direction and provides focus. She then warms up and starts lifting. And on this day, she focused predominantly on the snatch pull before moving to snatches and cleans, perhaps potentiating the snatches with heavier pulls or using the technique focus of the pulls to then implement into the more specific snatches. It's also worth noting that this was her first training session upon arrival at the World Championships, and so she was never going to go particularly heavy in the snatch or clean and jerk. Small jumps, rarely rushing to get to the top set, always executing with perfection. Kuo pulls incredibly straight, she finishes tall rather than laid back. She also finishes on her toes, something that divides coaches and countries. The Georgians, the Ukrainians, some of the Russians, and many other countries do their pulls with flat feet, shrugging and bending their arms after the finish. Others, like Kuo, finish on their toes, shrugging high, focusing on peak barbell height. Another thought is that perhaps Kuo is writing things along the lines of how she feels prior to training, her sleep quality or her diet, recording what she ate versus how she's feeling so that she can look back over past training sessions and notice these trends. And Kuo's focus on training, on the small things that she's working on her not just practicing but on deliberate, targeted practice, has helped her become the most dominant female weightlifter alive, at least by one metric, Roby points. The points that allow us to see how presiding a weightlifter is within their weight class, across classes and across genders. Unlike the Sinclair coefficient, Roby points allow us to compare men and women. And other than Lasha Talakadze, Kuo has the most Roby points in the world. More than Deng Wei, more than Shi Ziyong, Liu Zhaojun, Li Wenwen, above the whole dominance of the Chinese team. The Weightlifting House Training Journal was made with much of the ideas that we've spoken about in this video in mind. Create graphs to track your progress in various exercises, update your records, set goals correctly. Each day you can record your sleep and diet quality, how you feel, write down your session intention in order to set an overarching goal outside of just making each lift. You can write down what you're supposed to hit and then what you actually hit, recording session RPE, writing notes at the bottom in order to reflect, even keeping note and track of small things like who did I train with, how long and at what time did I start. And what's interesting is how much of a chord this training journal has struck with weightlifters. For years we knew that people would like a more structured, helpful, official way to record training. But when we brought this journal out in December, we didn't expect to sell out within the first month, but we did. And that's with us taking a bit of a risk on a larger order than we'd originally intended. Finally, however, we are back in stock everywhere, so I will place a link in the comment section for you if you're keen to step up a level with your training. Despite having taken a lot of time off after the Olympics, Kuo's backlog of work and perfect movement allowed her to still win a few days after this training session, despite her depreciated levels of strength. Lifting 90% of a competition best with 100 kilos in the snatch and 130 kilos in the clean and jerk, Kuo took another win. With 10 world records to her name, 5 world championship titles, 33 international gold medals that I could count, and the reigning Olympic champion, Kuo Hsing-chun is worth emulating. And for those of you wondering, was this video just one long ad for the Weightlifting House training journal? I don't know, maybe it was. But also, we got to watch one of the most exciting, enjoyable weightlifters in the world, training, focusing, doing her thing, and extending her legacy.
Well, thank you for the footage then as well. Thank you. Good luck tomorrow.
If you want to learn more about how Weightlifting House will change weightlifting forever this April, head to the link below and receive early updates. Also, 60k subs. You know what to do. Catch you next time.
Yeah!